Better Man, to me, it's a story of Robbie Williams' life, how he became the massive, huge star that he is, and the journey of that life, which hasn't always been easy. I'm playing a character called Betty, who is Robbie's nan, and from everything that we learn about Robbie and his nan, they were very close. She loved him so much, and I think she was the person he always went to for a cuddle, for a chat. She was always there. She was reliable. He had moments in his childhood when things were a bit wobbly, and Nan was always there for him, and she loved him dearly. There's a lovely scene where Nan gives him his bath, and there's lots of bubbles and everything, and she's always playing games with him, and it's fun. And there's one point when he just stops and puts his head down and says, "I'm nothing. I'm a nobody." And she gets so upset about that, and she puts him straight. And she says, "There's no such thing as a nobody. You're not a nobody." And she gives him courage to actually face the future and carry on. And that he mustn't sort of think of himself as a nobody. And that's very important, particularly when you're 9, 10 years old and you start to have those thoughts, because it can affect your whole life if nobody steps in and helps you. So it's good that Nan is there, as his backup. And I think that's what she always was. He was an absolute joy to talk to. And I just knew, I thought, I can work with this man. I would love to work with this man. He's my kind of director. He showed me various clips, various drawings that he'd done, clips that he'd already made as a sort of, test out and, have a look at this, and I was just so stunned by every single thing he showed me. And by the time we came to the end of the conversation, I thought, I want to do this, whatever it is, I'm going to do it. And then as soon as we finished that, I got the script and I read it and I thought, yeah, I gave it 2 thumbs straight away. Everybody knows Robbie Williams. He's a huge star. They know he was in Take That when he was a kid, and he's grown up to be this massive star. But not everybody knows the pain that he's been through. One sees stuff in newspapers and all that, but it doesn't give you the real truth of the matter. And I think this film will give you the truth, and how he's come through, and how he's beaten the devil, and he's won, and he's back, and he's, Robbie Williams again, performing and loving it.
So throughout the filming of Better Man, we went to a number of different places. We were in Melbourne for 4 months. We shot all over the city. We shot in the big Rod Laver Stadium, and we had a concert in there with Robbie performing, and we shot around Robbie doing his thing. We went over to Serbia. We recreated a concert of the Nebworth Time from 2003 in Serbia with 2,000 extras. But I think the highlight for me is actually London's Regent Street. Closing down Regent Street for 4 nights in a row, having total control over what was going on, 500 dancers, putting it all together so it's a seamless one shot from beginning of the street to the end of the street that ties into 2 different locations in Melbourne for the interiors of different stores. That was the thing that really made me really proud to be a part of the team putting this film together. Michael is like a dynamo. He's got so much passion, energy, patience, but overall, his vision for the entire film is something that you can really get behind. And you want to be a part of his team bringing a film to life. There is no better person to work with. The thing that really excited me about working on this project was trying to bring Robbie Williams to life as a monkey within the environment of Weta. And for me, the highlight's been actually working with those great artists and what they've able to pour into each of the shots to show us what we can actually achieve. And it's a great story. Being able to be so close with the filmmakers and to have that relationship where we are working hand in hand has been an awesome thing as well. overall, my favourite moment from the film, I think, is a really touching moment of where Robbie is with his long-time writing partner, Guy Chambers, and it's his first time of really getting to explore himself as a solo artist. And the song that he writes and sings at that moment in the film, Something Beautiful, is a great song, and it ties so nicely back to a scene that was just before, and it really shows what his writing skills are like and how he is able to connect with people so well. Robbie Williams is from Stoke-on-Trent. I'm from Stoke-on-Trent. It means a lot for me to be able to show a kid who's grown up with nothing and made something of himself. I was really intrigued by his story, knowing so much about it from growing up around the same sort of neighbourhoods, kicking a ball in the same sort of streets. And to be able to be filming in Stoke, because we went back there to film a whole scene there, and to be able to kind of do full circle from student filmmaking all the way through to indie filmmaking with a Hollywood director of Michael Gracey, it was just amazing.
Rob's not an easy person to kind of...
You can't pinpoint Rob.
And you can't teach that. You've either got that or you don't. And I think Rob's always said that. But I definitely, Jonno has got that because it's, you know, it's charismatic, it's performance. So Jonno's really gone deep into that. And he's kind of really taken on board a lot of what we've kind of asked him to do.
I feel like he was pre-made with just a little gene of Rob anyway. So it's always a bit of a lottery when you get your main actors and you're like, I don't know if this is gonna work. But as soon as he walked in, you were like, oh, yes.
He gets it. yeah, he's been great.
Because he was just the biggest present on this gig.
Yeah.
He really was.
Rob is such a character. His life story is it's full of everything. It's ups and downs and craziness. And he sees himself as like this crazy monkey. Like I just couldn't picture a normal biopic, someone playing Robbie. It's just exactly what it should be.
Robbie comes along once in a lifetime. And I think by making him a monkey, it just allows us to go so much deeper and people to believe it.
Yeah, I mean, he's just the best. He's the best, especially for what we do in dance. To have someone like him that understands dance, knows it, knows how it wants to be shot, like it's great.
And respects your vision as well. Like anything Ash does, he's on, like you said, he's just on board. And it's probably what he's already thinking anyway.
Yeah.
So it's a very good place to be.
I just want people to walk away and, you know, feel a bit of joy in how you can come out of stuff, because times can be dark in your life, but you can, come out of things with a new light. And I think just enjoy it as well. Like, it's a great story. The music's amazing. It's going to have huge musical numbers. Like, it's just a bit of everything.
It's just going to give everyone just that little pep that they can be like, oh my God, I feel like that. Or that's what I did. Or that's what I hope to be like when I'm out. Like, it's just, I think everyone's going to go away with that little bit more hope and drive. And Banno is going to, it's going to go off.
I read the script, so I realized the script is about a redemption. It's not only about a biopic of a singer, which we've been watching many times, from Rocky Man, from like Bohemian Rhapsody. It's actually about anxiety of the person, and then it's also about every person today have them for themselves, and also the relationship with their parent and then children. It's just a beautiful movie. It's not only about a biopic. It's not only about singer. It's about very edgy, beautiful family and a love story.
Better Man is a musical roller coaster ride about the life and career of the extraordinary Robbie Williams. My character is the guy that essentially discovered Take That. He put them together, and by virtue of that, I guess he's the guy who discovered Robbie Williams. So, you know, he's a very driven guy. He's someone who was able to see talent. You know, he auditioned a lot of guys and came up with this particular 5 who all had something particular about them that was a little different from each other, but together they made this special combination that ended up being an incredibly successful band that he wanted to rival New Kids on the Block in America, and certainly in England they did that. I've never worked on anything like this. This is like the Willy Wonka's chocolate factory of film sets. It's just, it's like adult playground, you know, to walk onto this set. There's so much going on, such an incredible story. It's just like, it's going to be a ride to watch it, but it feels like you're part of that ride making it as well. I've never experienced anything quite like this. They somehow managed to find the perfect person to play Robbie Williams, and that's no easy feat. In terms of his performance, Jonno is amazing. I think people need to remember when they watch this film that despite the fact they're not seeing Jonno's face, you kind of are seeing Jonno's face, because everything you see Robbie do in the movie, even though it might not be Jonno's face that you're seeing, every facial expression you're seeing, every pause, every head turn, every moment, all the line delivery is Jonno. And I think people are going to just be amazed by what he's done. I think audiences are going to have the time of their lives watching this. They will laugh, they will cry, they will definitely sing. They may end up dancing in the aisles. It's just that kind of movie, really. And I think they will see, a side of Robbie that they may not have been familiar with. And they'll certainly be reminded of, and if they didn't know him, introduced to what an extraordinary entertainer he is.
I mean, on this one, it was a bit odd because it started off with recordings of Robbie, with Michael interviewing Robbie. So there wasn't a timeline or anything to go off of. So it was kind of just coming up with visuals for some of the stories that he was talking about, and maybe trying to find something like an interesting take on it. I think since it's a biopic, we have we cover so much ground and so much time passes and so many different locations. It was a good time because we got to creatively come up with how to achieve what we want with a lot of bare bones sets and locations. Costume and makeup and all that, they've really helped set the tone and time period. Seeing it all come together just really helps sell it. I would say he's really good at laying the groundwork for everybody to be able to plug back into what his vision is. Everybody has their problems. I mean, that's kind of what it is. Even somebody that seems so naturally an entertainer still struggles with it. So I think, yeah, that would be at least what I take away from it.
Better Man, for me, is a story about love. It's a love story. It's a love of not boy meets girl, but someone accepting themselves and trying to love themselves for who they are, and bettering themselves. Pardon the pun. I loved every minute of it. I grew up wanting to do musical theatre, wanting to be a pop star. It was a pop star I wanted to do when I was a kid. So to have that moment with the mic, doing the Robbie flip with the mic, and belting out was it was a dream. We were both leaving set and we just bumped into each other and we had 20 minutes outside and we were just talking like two guys, two regular Joes, talking about family and football and gym and, the process and whatnot in Australia. And it was a side to him that I hadn't seen because I was never within that circle. And it was a really useful 20 minutes for me because I got to see this more intimate, this more considered person that isn't always on. And it showed to me that when he goes on stage, he comes alive. People, when I was telling them that I'd got this role, the first thing that they just prick up at is Michael Gracey, director of Greatest Showman. And he's such a collaborator. The scenes that we've done so far, he has his vision. He knows exactly what he's got a layout, he's got a plan, he's got almost a blueprint for all the scenes. but he's more than willing for you to riff and to play. And if I have an impulse, he's the first person to be like, follow it, let's see where it goes. And we've had some really magical moments from that. But to have someone who cares so much about a project only makes you and everyone else want to care about it more as well. I think the audience are really going to enjoy a performance in this. We're going to see a much more fragile side to Alison that we haven't seen in a long, long time. You know, we know for Gavin Stacey for a big comedy role, whereas this is much more delicate. It's much more about the heart, I think, and I think it's going to really blow people away what she's doing. It shows how big a thing this movie is, because Steve's been working for 30, 40 years and he said he's never done anything like this, you know, and so it was kind of refreshing and really comforting for me to hear someone with his esteem, someone with his experience to say how I was feeling. And we've had some great moments together. He breaks your heart and pisses you off at the same time with his character. He's found such variation within that role that he's kind of the guy that you love to hate to love. You're still rooting for, even though he's made some terrible decisions, and that can only be a credit to the layers that he's found within his performance. I was doing some scenes with Kate, and I went over to watch the panel afterwards just to watch her close up, and she just brings such human emotion to her scenes. Nothing looks performed, nothing looks put on. Everything looks so just considered and heartfelt, and yeah, she's Kate Mulvany, and I hold her in the highest regards. I think people that don't know his music are going to be introduced to a whole new star for them, and the people that do know his music, and they're going to be reminded of how brilliant it is with a whole new context and a whole new setting, and hopefully for them it's like listening into it for the first time, because we've got a whole new story behind it.
Janet is sort of the voice of, I guess, authenticity and realness in a world of kind of wild hopes and dreams and ambition and drive and entertainment. She's the voice of reason amongst all of that. She has to watch her beloved son go from, jumping on the couch as a child, singing into a pretend microphone, to becoming Robbie Williams. And the real Janet Williams, she had to watch this happen. So my job is to encapsulate that as best I can, and to get her authenticity as best I can. You can't sugarcoat anyone's life story, because all of us do bad shit and have bad shit happen to us, and Rob's no exception to that. And I think it's the glory of the warts and all sort of exploration of an entertainer's life in particular is really, really fascinating, especially this entertainer who's so honest with his audience, and that's not going to stop just because it's on film now. I love the fact that we've all got a cheeky monkey inside of us. We really do. We all have that part of us that is a little chimp, the good kind and the bad kind. And I just think it's a beautiful, of all the animals they could have picked, it's the best representation of who we all could be. But definitely Robbie Williams. He knows it's going to look spectacular because he's Michael Gracey and he makes everything look spectacular. But he's also so comfortable for you to bring your own ideas, bring your own take, bring your own instincts. He encourages that. He can give you a direction in less than 5 words. That's the most incredible gift about Michael Gracey. He'll just come in and go, more of that, please. Or, I loved that bit. And he's gentle and simple, and yet he creates these masterful worlds. He was so generous, and he was genuinely curious about every single person on that set, from where they came from, to their life story, to concerts that they'd seen, music that they'd liked. I love that. He didn't walk in and go, I'm Robbie Williams and this is my film. He walked in and said, who's my team? Or whose team am I on? And let's all do this together, which is a really rare, rare gift. I think audiences will take away hope. They will know that no ambition is too big. That they'll also, I think, want to kind of go and give their mum a hug, go and give their gran a hug, and really sit in the glow of a well-told story, and they might just go and listen to some more Robbie Williams as well. I know I did.
The question was always, you know, at the one end of the scale you've got a photorealistic chimpanzee, and at the other end of the scale you've got Robbie Williams, and where along that scale do we want to land? And there was a point where we went too far towards Robbie Williams, which was scary. We definitely fell into the uncanny valley, and then took a step back. I think where we sort of landed was, I said, let's for this section, let's lean 100% into Rob, with all the level of emotion and connection that's required in this movie. It's got to be in the eyes, and the eyes will sell it. Trying to figure out how to put a hairstyle or a specific haircut on a chimp without it looking like a toupee was a real challenge. And the way we solved it in the end was I phrased it to the team as like, if a chimp walked into a barber's and said, make me look like Robbie Williams, what would they do? And so, you know, chimps have hair all down their forehead, so we grew hair all down the forehead and then literally shaved it into a Robbie Williams hairstyle. And that was the thing which finally took us away from it looking like a chimp wearing a toupee. Robbie in the movie has a lot of costumes. I think, in fact, he doesn't wear the same costume more than once in any particular scene. Usually when we have a digital character, they might have one or two costume changes. I think at the last count, Robbie had close to 400 different costumes. Obviously, they're not 400 in the movie, but there's a lot of mix and matching. Sometimes a hoodie is open, sometimes a hoodie is closed. But we worked really closely with the costume department on this one, and they were fantastic. They literally sourced, made, bought, or rented every single costume that Robbie wears in film. We scanned every single one of them in order to make digital recreations of them, and we also shot reference in each scene of that costume within the lighting environment that each one was to be seen in. So we had really good reference on what it should look and behave like. So the tattoos, again, like most of these things, you know, the obvious thing is just to start tattooing the skin, but we wanted to take a different approach to Robbie's tattoos. And so the idea was to actually create them like hair art. So we'd shave them into his fur rather than tattoo them onto the actual skin. Obviously, when he starts the movie, he doesn't have any tattoos, and then as he gets more and more famous, we have to add them. So we went on a bit of a deep dive of Robbie Williams' tattoos to figure out which ones he would have had during the period that our movie takes place. And then figure out how to make them look natural and in the fur. Sometimes it looked a bit like he'd been to the vet, you know, and these big areas shaved out of his arms, so we had to sort of, you know, work how to feather them in and make them feel natural. But it worked really well. The models team, the fur groomers did an amazing job of replicating all of that detail, because they all were hand groomed into the hair. It wasn't like we had some add tattoo button, you know, it was actually a manual process.
There are some real universal themes, you know. Like The Greatest Showman, it's following your dreams. It's also like, you know, being able to look at yourself in the mirror and love what you see, you know, being able to accept the person you are. And so in that way, there were some real parallels. And I also love the power of, you know, those sort of stories where Elton John, Freddie Mercury, they're musical geniuses. Rob was a kid from Stoke-on-Trent who is not a musical genius, but he has whatever that is. And that took him from Stoke-on-Trent to the entire world. In a lot of musical biopics, people won't really show you the dark side. They won't show you the hurt, the pain, the struggles, the fights. And Rob has been unbelievably generous in saying, this is me, this is who I am, the good with the bad. And I think that makes for a really powerful story, because you don't feel like you're getting the watered down version of this narrative. There's a real energy to the film because you're watching someone have this extraordinary rise to fame. And it's not just once, but it's twice. It's with Take That initially, then he sort of hits rock bottom after he leaves Take That. And despite everything that everyone told him, he did it again. And in a way, he did it even more. As a solo artist, he was even bigger. And so to watch someone shoot for the stars twice is incredibly exhilarating. It's exhilarating storytelling, it's exhilarating visually. There's a real excitement that you're watching someone doing the impossible. The thing that I was really drawn to is the father-son aspect of it. I think that there's someone said that all rock stars are basically, you know, sons on stage crying out for their dad. But I think that in Rob's case, it's such a unique thing to have a father who idolizes Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., who his excitement, his passion for that is 100% passed on to Robbie. And there's something really, you know, beautiful in terms of narratively about a father who doesn't get to realize his dream, but his son does. And in Rob realizing his dream, he gets to allow his father to stand on stage in front of 80,000 people and perform. Working with Rob's incredible. I think that you make the mistake of not quite understanding how unique Robbie is. And the more I worked with him and the more that we would try and nail certain performances of his and find that combination of wit and charisma and showmanship, the more admiration I have for him as a human, as a performer. You really understand that the ingredients that is the makeup that is Robbie Williams is really special. Jonno gave this film his all. His commitment to portraying Robbie in a truthful, in a exciting, in a energized way was so impressive, and it blew me away. I was so impressed with the deep study he did of what makes Robbie Robbie, but also the relentless nature of take after take after take after take. He would just give it 150%. One of the joys we got was shooting the concerts for real. So there is something about being in a room with all of those people having a shared experience of watching Rob in concert, which is why this film works at the cinema, because it is a shared experience. You want to go along, you want to see those spectacles up on the big screen, you want to see that emotion, that roller coaster, and you want it to be a shared experience. With this story, we have incredible music, we have an incredible narrative in Rob, and we have technology that is only just able to pull off what we want to do. And so it's a moment in time that all those things came together, and that's what makes this so special. Essentially, this film is the rise, the fall, and the resurrection of Robbie Williams.
Rob is such a unique guy. He is so flawed and so silly, and his music's good, but he is just so fallible that that sort of was the best bit of it. He's both funny and actually emotional and honest. And honest in the press, and has been very honest with Michael and with us, and pretty courageous actually to say, go for it. And it's not at all watered down.
Everyone knows Rob as the sort of guy you'd meet down the pub. He's, you know, really casual, funny. Feels like he doesn't really care that much. But you know, you don't get to where the level of success he's had for sort of really not caring. And what is that drive?
We are either trying to achieve or trying to impress or trying to get ahead or get noticed or get loved. whether it be with the pursuit of fame or whatever it is that you're into. That's a human thing that we all sort of struggle with, I think, or a lot of us. It's something that you don't need to be famous to sit in the auditorium of this film and recognise that what Rob goes through is very similar to what we're all struggling with. It's just amazing, his ability to understand where he's at and what he's lived through, what he's come out the other side of, and what he's actually still experiencing and still struggling with. He's so open like that, which is so handy when you're writing about someone.
And so sort of really rare that you can actually, you know, people say, I want to tell the truth, and sort of by the end of the process, some things can get watered down, but he's never wanted to water down anything. He really wants to push the envelope.
The requirements of that role are frankly ridiculous. We're after someone who is obviously has a sense of humour, can deal with the emotional weight, the heavy lifting of this film and this story, and it is quite emotional, and can hold a tune, is comfortable musically, and can dance. That's ridiculous. That's a unicorn, and so we found that unicorn, and he came in and had hit the ground running.
Jonno has been incredible. I mean, from the first day of rehearsals, which we would film and shoot out the scenes, we were just blown away by just how quickly he got what we were trying to make. It's a real credit to his ability.
I think this film is fun and moving and with beautiful music, and a story that reminds us that despite our insecurities and our failings, it reminds us that we're enough.
Ever since I've kind of known Michael, I just always knew there was a unique way of telling stories. He had a kind of an edge and a musicality about him, but also an idealism. So in tackling a story like Rob's, you knew that it was going to have all the grit and the reality and these amazing musical numbers, yet there was always going to be a lot of heart to it. It's an unbelievable true story behind the scenes of a rock star that we think we know, but you don't really. This story has so much that is going to be revealed to not only Robbie's fans who know him so well, but just to a general audience to go, you know, what is it really like to be a rock star? And to look at that story through the lens of performance anxiety and you know, family and other universal ideas that are very, very compelling. The vision was always from Michael to shoot these things for real and put this digital monkey in such a real environment where this you would feel the incredible performance energy and the roar and the joy and the exhilaration of the crowd. So I think the movie really takes you on this exhilarating ride because of that sense of realism and energy and everything that is Robbie Williams. Rob put no boundaries on the film whatsoever, which is extremely honourable and rare. He lets you into the world, warts and all, which truthfully, that's what we want to see as an audience. We don't want the contrived story. We want the truth beyond the cliche. Jonno has just given us a performance, the breadth of Rob, the energy of Rob, the charisma of Rob, the singing ability of Rob, the dancing ability. He's just given us this amazing breadth of performance that I think will be extremely memorable.
There's a lot of freedom in performance, and it's fascinating to watch him work. And also, he's just the most generous person, and not just in his energy towards people, but even from when I first met him on a call. He was really generous with the materials he showed me. I didn't have the job, so I wasn't really entitled to that. But he has this thing of really bringing everyone into the world so that we all know what movie we're making, and it makes everyone just as passionate as he is, and you don't want to let him down. And the way he treats people, whether they are a producer to an extra to a caterer. It's kindness and generosity, and he really brings people in to be like, look what we're making. There's so many interviews out there of her. There's a couple of documentaries that she took part in for the BBC, and then also I managed to get my hands on a book that she wrote with her sister in 2002 called Together. And through that, I was able to get her experience in her words. So through that, I was able to really explore her and try to find the real Nicole to then integrate into the story that we were telling. Nicole sees Robbie, or Rob. She doesn't see Robbie Williams. She meets him and she meets Rob. And because they feel like kindred spirits and these sort of outsiders in the crazy rock and roll world that he's been really swept up in, but she really tried to remain grounded and family focused and personally focused. And I really wanted to instill that in her, that when they were together, even if they were on a red carpet or they were on this amazing yacht, it was always really focused on them, because she saw him as a person and she didn't see him as a rock star. Jonno is an absolute legend. The second he walked in, I was a part of his audition experience, and he manages to capture the cheekiness and the self-deprecating humour and also the real darkness of Robbie. And in Nicole and Rob's story, there is such a journey there. And I have never felt safer with an actor. I hope that people, when they leave the cinema, feel for Rob. I think that the great thing about him is that he is the everyman, and he's not this heightened being that we can't connect with. His cautionary tale and his imposter syndrome and his striving for something that was not handed to him, I think is something that we can all really resonate with. And seeing it being done on this crazy scale and this real rock and roll energy to it with a real emotional truth, I hope that people walk away learning more about Rob, more about his music, and I hope they feel a little bit more connected to him, because, yeah, he's just one of us, right?
I was first approached by Michael Gracey saying, hey, maybe we'll do a film, tell me your story. I was extremely excited and knew and completely understood what a gift this might be for my life. This story is about the pitfalls of fame and the relationship with how one sees themselves through the eyes of the world looking back at them. Acceptance of self is a big aspect of the movie, but acceptance of everything is key. Acceptance to who your family are and what they won't be, and acceptance to what the world is, what it isn't, and what it can be. I just watched the film with a massive audience and got to experience that with the director and the guy that played me, which I think was incredibly special. And then there was a standing ovation, and in that moment, I'd got everything that I'd ever wanted. I'd been understood. I knew that I was incredibly lucky to have somebody with the genius of Michael Gracey being even semi-interested in doing anything with me, whether it be an advert for cat food. I'd have been like, wow, I'm doing an advert for cat food with Michael Gracey. As it happens, I'm doing an advert for Robbie Williams with Michael Gracey. I can explain to you why the monkey by saying, why not? I'm a big fan of not everything having to make sense. And when you watch the movie, you won't be able to say why it makes sense, but it just does. At the ripe old age of 50, I'm now ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille. It's really it. I'm really there. It really happened. And that's what you're getting.
Better Man's a musical biopic about a boy who has an ordinary childhood in Stoke in the UK, and he went on to have an extraordinary life. And his name's Robbie Williams, and the story's told in an extraordinary way that makes you reevaluate everything you think you know about him. So it's fun, it's funny, it's very dramatic as well, so it's something for everybody, and a lot of great songs in the mix too. So I play Peter, who's Robbie's father, and I think Robbie got a lot of his love of performing from his dad. He talks about that a lot. And Peter's really someone who just loves performing. He loves entertaining. He loves having a crowd. And from what I understand, it doesn't matter if it's one person or a room full of people, he will be entertaining everybody the whole time. And like I say, that's been a huge influence on Robbie. Well, I firmly believe that any drama needs comedy in it, and any comedy needs drama in it. So you just really have to look at each scene and think, well, life is funny one minute and dramatic and sad the next, and you've got to have all of that going on within your performance. So, but like I said, if you're anchored by a great script, which we are with this project, you don't have to worry as an actor. You know, half your job has been done for you. Well, Michael, who, like I say, I met for the first time on Zoom. From the very first time we started talking to each other, I warmed to him. He's very open, very funny. And what I've loved about working with him, he's so collaborative. He's not got an ego. He'll listen to everybody's ideas. He's got a very strong vision of what he wants. But the rehearsal process we had was really invaluable. And yeah, Michael's just been a joy to work with and full of grace. What better name can you have? Jonno Davies, who's playing Robbie, is what we call a triple threat. He's an amazing actor, singer, and dancer. He has thrown himself into this from the get-go. He's bringing Robbie to life in an amazing way. And I'm not even thinking at all about the motion capture at the moment. It's just like doing a scene with a great actor. The movie is not an anodyne, sugar-coated portrayal of his life. And credit to him for saying to the writers, this is my story, do tell it. He's not, I believe he hasn't given any direction, I don't want you to mention this, or let's not go into that area. It's access all areas, Robbie Williams.
My character in Better Man is Guy Chambers, who is Robbie Williams' songwriting partner. Also an incredible music brain and kind of like a supporting device for Robbie Williams as a songwriter. You know, like they're obviously a wonderful partnership, the two of them together. But maybe like a yin-yang, they don't completely function at their best individually, but together they make it work with both of their unusual skills. I think that's kind of my read on Guy Chambers, having never met him. Working with real Robbie on set it's a gift because we're getting to see him use his magic and his gift of normal performance in a studio film environment where the cameras stop and he does his magic thing with a cast of extras that are audience, and he's just doing it like he normally does it, but you get to see it over an extended period of time. Working with Jonno Davies is also a surprise and a gift. They have found the most incredible team member in him, and to play this role in the way that it has to be played with all of the mocap and all of that stuff, you need someone with no ego, who has the ego healthy enough to play the role, but no more. And they really nailed it with him because he's just an absolute beauty. And there's producerial elements to that role in a way, you know, because it has to be bigger than your own idea of acting or movement or anything. Like, it's a very holistic performance that he has to give technically as well as emotionally, and he just stuns at every turn. I hope that audiences take away tolerance of unusual people in the world, and and that everyone struggles, everyone, no matter what your background is, no matter how shiny it looks or whatever. Everyone has challenges, big life-threatening challenges in their families, in their personal struggles. And I just hope that this adds to people's personal strength against those challenges.